In the early 2000s, the first-person shooter landscape was a crowded one. An overabundance of Halo ripoffs and World War II shooters had flooded the market, and it seemed like every other week, a new generic shooter was hitting consoles or the PC platform. While there were many great action games that came out of this era, there were a dozen mediocre, forgettable first-person shooters for every great one that stood the test of time. Enter Prey, an innovative first-person shooter released in 2006 that took spectacular risks with its unique gameplay and setting. The game kicks off by dropping the player into the shoes of a Cherokee named Tommy, who's abducted off a reservation into an alien spaceship, and it only gets crazier from there. The detailed, highly interactive opening sequences of the game gave way to inventive level designs that most other shooters of the day could only dream of achieving. Letting the player use a host of bizarre weapons and powerful spirit abilities, the game eschewed traditional shooter mechanics throughout the single-player campaign, and further let players fool around with its wild ideas in multiplayer matches. Featuring tons of unique ideas like walking on walls and ceilings, letting players warp through portals sprinkled throughout the levels, and dropping players in levels that break the laws of gravity, the game was a truly memorable experience from start to finish. While the game didn't achieve a blockbuster level of success, sales were healthy for a brand new IP, especially one as off-the-wall as Prey, with over 1 million copies sold. With positive critical reception and a solid start to the franchise, Prey went down in the history books as a standout from the usual shooter fare. A sequel to Prey seemed like a foregone conclusion, and sure enough, Prey 2 was soon in development shortly after the release of the first game.
Target located. Tracking on.
By 2009, development of the game had gone full steam ahead, as the team at Human Head Software began reworking and upgrading many of the features of the first game. Prey 2 was looking to take things in an entirely different direction. According to inside sources and the media that we've got our eyes on, the game was more of a spiritual sequel than it was a straight continuation. While the game had been greenlit as early as 2006 and in full-on development for several years, it was finally officially announced in 2011. Right off the bat, Prey 2 looked very impressive in the host of screenshots and trailers that Bethesda made available to the public. But the most promising look at Prey came in the form of a live, on-stage demo at E3 2011. Showcasing gameplay from an early build of the game, the Prey 2 demo wowed audiences at the event with its solid graphics and gameplay. Even for a game that hadn't quite hit the alpha stage of development, the portions of the game that were shown to the public looked very solid and playable, with many of the full game's features already implemented. Casting players as a bounty hunter hunting a wide array of alien criminals spread throughout a sci-fi world, Prey 2 would have let players capture or kill targets in exchange for credits in the seedy alien underworld. Players could browse through available targets and missions and tackle them in any order they choose, in addition to accomplishing missions and taking out targets with any of the various weapons or methods available to them. Some targets would need to be taken in alive, while others players could opt to take out if they so desired. Targets might even negotiate for their lives, offering to pay the player to go kill a different target rather than take them down. Players could even interrogate their prisoners for valuable information, or else send them straight to their employer. This focus on relatively free-form gameplay would permeate the entirety of the game's design, from choices of what styles of weapons to use, to which mission to tackle, to which areas of the foreign world to explore. The ability to take hostile aliens hostage to convince targets to come in quietly was also one of the myriad options available. These kinds of options were only enhanced by the game's new and improved combat and movement systems. The main character could slide, run, and jump through the environment, allowing players to make a daring getaway or a surprise assault on an unsuspecting alien victim. Dubbed Agile Combat, and taking its inspiration from parkour games like Mirror's Edge, the system was designed to provide a smooth and seamless combat experience to the player. As the alien world was designed to be a large vertical city, players were able to climb various walls and surfaces to get to hard-to-reach places throughout the game's wide-open areas. The game even featured gadgets and technology to assist with movement, like hover boots, so players could easily glide around the game's large environments. Other gadgets included an arsenal of homing rockets, an energy shield players could deploy for quick defense, and an anti-gravity wave to leave potential targets helpless as the player closed in for the kill. While the E3 demo didn't show all of the advanced sci-fi tech that players would have access to, the developers promised over 20 different pieces of technology for an endless variety of ways to deal damage and trap one's prey. The game's graphics and presentation were very polished in the parts of the game that were shown to the public, featuring a living, breathing alien world. Various exotic aliens would roam around the cities and alien landscapes, going about their business as the player infiltrated different buildings and hideouts to take down their prey. Many of the game's aliens could be interacted with, letting players talk to people around town to pick up side jobs and get inside information on various targets. All of these little details help the game present a realistic world for players to explore. Built on a modified version of the Doom 3 game engine that had powered the original Prey, the game was quite the looker for its day, even on an aging game engine. It was clear that Human Head had become familiar enough with the tech to be able to squeeze new life out of the older technology. Alien cities flashed with neon lights on the side of seedy bars and clubs, all setting up a gorgeous backdrop for the game's impressive visual effects for the player's various guns and abilities. Sadly, the game would never see the light of day. Amidst a long struggle between the developer and Bethesda, Prey 2, in its original incarnation, was officially announced as canceled in 2014. Development was shifted over to Arcane Studios, who would be scrapping all the work done on the game up to that point and taking a new look at the Prey franchise. As is the case with many in-development games, the publisher felt that Prey 2 wasn't up to the quality standard needed for it to be a success. Sources have claimed the game was approaching a solid alpha build, at which point it would likely have been fully playable and ready for polish to a beta build and beyond. Some members of the Prey 2 team have blamed the game's cancellation on politics that had little to do with the quality of the game, while others claim the game wasn't nearly complete at the time of its cancellation. This kind of finger-pointing after the fact is common with games that are canceled before they come to fruition, and obviously, Prey 2 was no exception to the rule. Jason Blair, one designer employed by Human Head Games at the time of Prey 2's development, later stated on Twitter that Prey 2 was a full game and a crazy fun one. He also claimed that what happened to Prey 2 from where I sat was political and petty. In contrast, Bethesda Vice President Pete Hines said of the game's cancellation, "It was a game we believed in, but we never felt that it got to where it needed to be. We never saw a path to success if we finished it. It wasn't up to our quality standard and we decided to cancel it." Whatever the case, it's always tragic when years of a developer's hard work goes down the drain. We'll never know exactly what it would have been like to stalk aliens in the dark and gritty world of Prey 2, while the game's developers won't get the satisfaction of having the world experience and appreciate their creative efforts.
This is Morgan. The year is 2035. Please listen.
Although Prey 2 wasn't destined to be, the franchise isn't quite dead yet. Arcane's all-new take on the game, simply titled Prey, was released on May 5th, 2017 for Windows and current-gen consoles. More of a reimagining than a straight sequel, Prey uses some similar gameplay concepts in an all-new universe and narrative, while incorporating gameplay elements from various other games and genres. Sharing more in common with Arcane's Dishonored series and classic PC shooter System Shock than Human Head's original take on Prey sequel, Prey offers players multiple open paths throughout the game's world, a space station teeming with deadly alien races bent on killing the player. The game has been compared to classics in the Metroidvania genre, where players are able to backtrack through the whole game as their character's ability and inventory improves, so they can reach areas that were previously inaccessible. While this version of Prey is its own animal, it retains some elements of Prey and the ill-fated Prey 2, like a focus on unique weaponry and the protagonist's struggle against a host of hostile alien creatures. However, the vast majority of this new take on Prey is all new to the series, meaning players will likely never get a chance to see how Human Head's iteration of Prey 2 would have turned out. Prey 2's development is a tragic tale that's all too common. Whether the game was ultimately killed due to a conflict between the publisher and the developer, or legitimate concerns about its quality and marketability, it's sad to see a game with that much promise abruptly canceled. While Prey 2 may never see the light of day, we hope that Arcane's reimagining of the franchise breathes new life into the fan-favorite series from over a decade ago. In the meantime, for all your Prey and video gaming news, keep it locked to Gamers.